Steve Eccles is here. Is that us? Are we ready? We're talking. We're live on air. It's nice to be on air and not be particularly perturbed by it.
No,
to be chilled.
No.
Let's do it. Yes. Let's do a sort of symmetrical chilled wave at the people. Are you ready? Hi.
Hi.
How you doing? It's so nice to see you. It's Destination Uri. I'm Rowan Hand. This is Steve Eccles. And Steve is from Eccles Physiotherapy on the Warren Point Road in Uri. He's my regular bike, back and bone man. And that's an encapsulation of your lifestyle, joie de vie, being fit and doing things right, swimming backways across Campbell Lake without a wetsuit, and going to the top of Kilimanjaro on your... You haven't done that yet.
Never.
That's coming, though. That's coming. It's good to see you again. We had the scientific proof last week of... it was in the Times of London, which I take. Do you take the Times of London?
I didn't, not this.
No,
not this.
Yes, it's very good. They were talking about the scientific proof now that cold, wet, damp even weather, with a hint of rain to come, that the old granny thing about, the bones because of the weather. That it's right. They can demonstrate that, you know.
Well, we talked about that, I think, last week,
we
didn't we?
We
So
did.
we were ahead of the Times of London.
Of course we were. That doesn't surprise you, does it?
Not at all. Not at all.
What about we're going to physiotherapy in a moment, okay?
Physiotherapy in a moment.
What about the comet? The landing on the comet of Philae, so many 300 million miles away.
Yes.
Perfectly executed the journey through space, and the button was pushed, and the drill didn't work.
The little harpoons didn't
work.
And it bounced off.
Well, it didn't bounce. It was still there, sort of, but hanging on by its sole remaining tentacle, you know. And something that you could buy over in McParland's went wrong. Maybe even a drop of 3-in-1 oil applied before the launch would have done it, you know. Yes, it would really sicken your happiness, that kind of thing.
It would.
That's it. So what have you done this week? You've been busy.
Yes, I was down in Limerick on the weekend. That's,
May I ask
the
circumstance?
My daughter received one of the J.P. McManus Scholarship Awards.
Which of the daughters?
Emily, my
Emily,
eldest.
congratulations,
Thank you.
Emily.
So
you've done well.
It was a lovely ceremony, and they're very generous and with help for university fees.
Well, JP is a wonderful man.
He is. He's a very nice man.
He does stuff there at home. He has helped me in Africa at my schools to the tune of 50,000.
Wow.
And that's a kindness, you know.
Yes,
But he knows in these things, his foundation's a good judge of things, and they get things done.
Did you hear about? There's a lady in Strabane who gave. Now, I've probably got all the details wrong here, but I think on the lottery she won £27 million, and she gave 26 million of it away.
Why wouldn't you?
Wasn't that lovely?
It's a good thing to do.
It is a good thing to do.
It is a good thing to do, because I wrote in the paper this week, in my Rowan's Rambles, the nearest you can come in life, in my experience, to heaven. You know, we all want to go to heaven. If there is such a place. We want to go to nirvana, where our bones don't get sore anymore. And you become a golf coach rather than a physiotherapist, whatever.
It would be
It
would be a strange world when I could teach anyone anything about golf.
But the thing is, I muse that the greatest joy that we can have in life, the nearest we can come to heaven on this earth, is that moment and that time of giving to someone in need, giving to a victim. Whether it's the lifting of the person up in whatever way, supporting the person, the J.P. McManus way, to your dear Emily and to my people in Africa, that brings you close to whatever Godhead there is.
Yes.
Because it's the complete attenuation of selfishness.
Yeah.
You're no longer selfish.
Yes.
I think that's maybe true. You've brought Rodney with you again.
I have, indeed.
Hello, Rodney. Hello, Rowan. How are you, Rowan? Hi.
So today I was sort of hoping
You've got his pelvis very close to your own pelvis. Is that a female pelvis?
I don't think so. I think it's
it's
too
solidly
circular
affixed. Yeah, it
and
is
small, so it's probably a male one. And today I was going to talk about, just very briefly, about sacroiliac joints.
I've heard of sacroiliac. Wow, where did I hear? I had a problem with my sacroiliac, and I had to go to the hospital, and they did manipulation and things up there.
Today, well, that's very good.
Where is the sacroiliac?
The sacroiliac is the joint between your sacrum, which is the bottom part of your spine.
We getting in on this? We are. We can get in on this,
area.
young Ryan.
At the back of
He's
your
a good
pelvis,
man, Ryan.
there's
Okay.
a fused area here called
This is your
the
coccyx.
sacrum.
Oh no, your
coccyx
coccyx
is
is
right
the tail.
down the bottom.
And is it true that this bit used to be our tail in the
Yes.
days of
Yes, I believe so.
Darwin and all of that?
Yes,
you
in
know?
the days of Darwin.
No,
I think it was,
Darwin.
it was actually
No,
before Darwin.
He discovered it. That's what I'm trying to say. But Darwin's journey and the Bible is more popular than Darwin, it seems. But the Pope has said recently that Darwin and God are synonymous. One doesn't exclude the other.
Yes, I
So
think
here we
he's
are.
a wise man.
So the tail is there.
And this bone here, this part of the pelvis is called the ilium.
Ilium?
Ilium and sacrum.
Sacrum.
So it's the joint between the sacrum and the ilium, the sacroiliac joint.
And that's it in there.
And that's it in here.
But there's no padding in there.
There isn't. There isn't.
But surely a joint where there's bone on bone, there should be a padding.
Well, it's a different kind of joint. It's not the normal synovial joint.
Synovial joint.
At Christmas maybe you take the turkey apart.
Yes.
And there's a shiny white, very round head of the leg.
Yes.
Fitting
That's
into
right.
the cup.
Yes.
Well, this isn't like this. This is not smooth. It's almost like two rocky surfaces that are stuck together.
And this maybe works because neither surface is load bearing.
Well, it is load
Is
bearing. And if you think that all of your upper body weight goes through these two joints.
Yes.
Now, what can happen, certainly in pregnancy, when hormones are released to make your ligaments relaxed. It's called relaxin, and it allows them to stretch out so that the pelvis can move.
The baby can.
But also in trauma, after car accidents, or even simple twisting accidents or a fall on the floor, these joints that are normally like this can be kicked out of place and sit in an awkward position because of their rocky surfaces. They don't slide back. I don't believe that spinal joints are out of place, if you like. I believe that they may be stiff, but I do believe that this can be out of place. And so what often happens is we get low back pain, often referred down into the leg. Okay.
Yes, I'm with you.
Pain. There's many ways that the pain can show itself, but one way is rolling over in bed. People can be quite comfortable lying in bed, but when they roll over, they'll be in agony. So that's very often a finding.
And what can
sometimes even walking on that side. Typically, the lumbar spine isn't painful walking on one particular leg. It would be generally walking. What can be done?
Yeah, what can be done?
Well, careful assessment. Sometimes we can see that this bone here might be higher or lower.
Yes.
Showing a rotation.
And can you through my working through my skin and flesh, can you actually identify and put your finger on that point and that point?
Those are quite
You know
easy,
exactly where that is.
Yes.
There's no ambiguity.
No ambiguity. And also there's at the front here there's two little notches, and they
Are
should
those
be
the two notches I get here?
absolutely.
Just there. That's
Everybody
it.
feel front
Just
just
here.
under your belt line, and you can feel them. And so if we get the person to lie down, right down in the middle of the bed, you can sometimes see if one of these is higher.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes the sacrum becomes twisted I'm exaggerating here.
Yes, of course.
In its housing, and we have to rotate them back. What can be done about them? In the olden days, we used to sort of try and grab hold of the pelvis and twist, but now we use a thing called muscle energy that the lovely osteopaths showed us, and we can return these joints back to their normal positions.
What is muscular energy?
Muscle energy is
muscle energy.
It's just using the muscles to put a stress on.
And how do you do that?
Well, for example, if perhaps this right-hand side was too high up, so so this part of the pelvis is rotated backwards, what we would do is have the person lying with their leg over the edge of the bed and be holding this leg up. So you'd be holding your own knee, other leg, and then I would put my hand on the leg hanging off the bed and get you to push up. So normally if I'm getting you without resisting it to use those muscles, your leg would lift up in the air. But if I'm holding your leg here, it's pulling this down. Yeah. So we just reverse the action of the muscle, and you know, it's not painful. The patient does it all. There's no violent sudden thrust, you know, to
I have been very lucky, and I touch wood here, and I'm sure a lot of you out there will share this experience, but if you're still struggling in the middle of pain and difficulty, know there is something, there is an outcome, because whatever happened to me, I found myself within the last 10 years, certainly 10 years ago, 8 years ago, on occasions, getting out of my car, I remember it as clearly, when I simply froze with pain. I couldn't move forward, couldn't move back, couldn't get up, couldn't get down, and I'm down on the quay, standing in the doorway of my car going, great pain.
Yes.
Now that has gone from my life. Why has that gone from my life?
Well, I think it probably wasn't sacroiliac.
No,
problem. I think when you have an irritated joint, a stiff, awkward joint, if you sit for a while, and especially if you have to sort of slump when you're driving, then to move it after that, the period when you've been sitting, and then to have it to straighten the joint up again, it becomes very painful. It's called gelling. It's like people who would be stiff and sore for a minute or so after they get out of bed in the morning.
This was slightly different in that I can only describe this as a serious muscular spasm.
Yes.
And I could, this was roar out loud pain.
And then you stand there for maybe 30 seconds or a minute, and then it sort of eases and you're able to move on.
My goodness.
So again, if you're having something like that, go and see a physiotherapist, and they'll identify the joint that's the problem and get that moving again.
That's what I noticed about your work. You home in on the actual joint. You can do that.
You have to, otherwise you don't know what you're treating. And you know, what physios, and I suppose in all medicine, branches of medicine, we have a little model in our head of what's wrong.
Yes.
And then you treat, and if things get better, then you can assume that, well, maybe not that the model's right, but the model's effective, that yes, the person's getting better, which is what we want. If they're not getting better, then you have to question whether you're right or not. So I think that always being aware that you could be wrong is a very important thing in medicine, but also in life.
Absolutely.
That you have to keep changing, and that's why when politicians refuse to make U-turns, I just don't understand that. I think that I would be proud to say, well, I was wrong, and
I've listened, I've analysed, I've taken it further.
Yes.
You know, I often say to politicians, my dear fellows, if the dinosaur had changed its mind and had dealt with the crisis in a different way, the dinosaur would still be here.
Yes.
It wouldn't have been eliminated from the planet. You know, this is the thing. Are you mightily impressed with the comet? We talked about that briefly.
I think it's a marvellous thing,
You know, it's a huge achievement,
yes.
you know.
I'm afraid I'm not
But I ask you, I know you're not an astronomer, but there's an interesting point. We're told that this comet, and I mused about this morning, dear friends, did I not? We're told that the comet takes us back to the very beginning of time, that it's the remnants of the Big Bang, for example. And the Big Bang started it all. You've heard this.
Yes.
What started the universe? The Big Bang. Now, I have a simple question. And you're an intelligent man, and you will know the answer.
No, I won't know the answer.
But we're going to try.
Okay.
And we'll work it out together.
Right.
We'll work it out,
Okay,
Steve. We'll work it out together. The physiotherapist meets the psychologist. We'll work it out, Steve. It'll be all right. No, but here's my point. The Big Bang. What were the constituent parts of the bang? And where did they come from?
Yes, I'm not really. I don't know. I do know that I believe that every piece of matter in the universe there's a piece of antimatter. So the net sum of the universe is zero. So, but I don't really know what to do with that.
My simple mind just poses another question.
Yes.
Is it taking us into the territory of the God factor? Maybe.
No, I think that it's incredibly complicated and difficult. Theoretical physics is a quite rightly thought of as a very difficult thing to understand, and many books are written about it, and you read them and you scratch your head and not really be much wiser at the end of it. And I think it's easier to make an understandable story, especially the biblical stories are a digestible version of the truth that as they were seen at the time. I don't see that.
Old Pope was saying this week. He's a good man, that Francis the Good.
He seems to be.
Francis the Good. He was saying this week that Darwinism and Christianity and the God story are not mutually exclusive.
No,
that God could have done his master plan and did it through Darwin sort of thing. Who knows, that sort of thing.
No, I think that's a very sensible way. The more we learn about science, we can't ignore it. We don't ignore.
It's a bit like you were saying earlier, the intelligence to change your mind.
Yes,
and to ask the questions.
Yes, and we don't ignore medical science, do we?
No, not at all.
When we're ill.
Yeah, we're soon. I see in the Times of London this morning, patients are told to go online to find out their test results. I'll be able to go up and get all my medical data on the thing there. Yes. And you will become like a Google blob sitting there saying, "Hello, I am Steve of Steve Eccles. I'm Steve Eccles of Eccles Physiotherapy. Welcome to my site. Now stand up, sit down, blah, blah, blah." You'll never come to that.
Hold your phone
absolutely.
to your heart.
To your heart. We'll tell you now. But I say this to the bankers. I go out, when I visit my bank to check on the state of my overdraft, which is invariably
in good health.
A hair's breadth under the limit, and I'm going, oh, this is going on. But when I say to the man, the lady's standing in the bank and she says, "Can I help you?" I say, "No, you're doing yourself out of a job, you foolish woman." She said, "Well," and she thinks she's been insulted. But she's not. I'm giving her good advice. Because what they're doing is they're training people to use the machines themselves so they can get rid of staff.
Yes.
I've got a cold. I've got a cold. Well, I do apologise.
I heard on the radio recently that in Kenya there are because it's such a widely spread population that there were very few banks to start with.
Yes.
But now everybody banks through their phones. And they can transfer money by simple.
It's amazing.
Phone applications.
And one of the things they sell as you traverse the road from the south to the centre to the north in my part of sub-Saharan Africa, one of the people on the road selling phone cards, million. Everybody's into the phones. They're starving, but they're able to have a phone. This is the thing. Indeed. It's been absolutely wonderful having you with me. Thank you very much.
It's been wonderful being here. Thank you.
It's been a joy. No, total pleasure, absolutely. We're going to go now into some music. I think is it music,
Lovely.
Ryan, or is it? We're going to go to some advertisements, which is very important. I'm going to introduce the ads. Will you hold now? Will you stand by and I'll introduce them, Ryan? Now, ladies and gentlemen, and Mr. Steve from Eccles Physiotherapy on the Warren Point Road, we take you into the Casbah, the bazaar, the souks, the tented trading space, the Aladdin's cave, that place of retail wonderment, the adverts.
Destination Newry. We're back in moments.